The water was black and endless, swallowing Aisha Balyawatayf whole as her scream died in her throat. Her white server's uniform billowed around her like a ghost, dragging her deeper into the cold ocean beneath the luxury yacht. She couldn't swim, had never learned in Lagos's crowded streets where pools were luxuries for the rich. Her lungs burned, begging for air that wouldn't come. This was it. After surviving poverty, betrayal, and soul-crushing loneliness, she would die at a rich people's party where nobody even cared enough to save her. But somebody did care. Lehman Chio stood on the upper deck of the Dragon's Breath yacht, his long black hair whipping in the sea wind, tattoos visible on his neck beneath his unbuttoned Armani shirt. He saw the splash, heard the faint cry that the pounding K-pop music almost drowned out. Every instinct screamed at him to stay away from the water. He'd been terrified of it since watching his parents' car sink into Seoul's river when he was 10 years old, their hands pressed against the windows as water filled the Mercedes, their mouths forming words he couldn't hear. But his body moved before his mind could stop it. He ripped off his jacket, kicked off his Italian leather shoes, and dove 30 feet into the churning darkness. Underwater, the world became silent terror. Min Chio's own trauma screamed at him as he swam deeper, searching for her in the black void. Then he saw her, sinking, eyes closing, body going limp. Not again. Not again. Not again. He wrapped his arms around her waist and kicked upward with everything he had, fighting against the weight of her soaked uniform and his own paralyzing fear. They broke the surface. The yacht's crew threw a life preserver. Strong hands pulled them aboard. Aisha lay on the deck, lips blue, chest still. Min Chio didn't hesitate. He started CPR, his hands pressing rhythmically against her sternum, his lips covering hers for rescue breaths. Around them, party guests filmed on their phones, champagne glasses forgotten. 1 breath. 2. 3. Aisha's eyes fluttered open. Their faces were inches apart. Her brown eyes met his dark ones, and something passed between them that neither could name. Recognition, fate, destiny. Time stopped. The party, the people, the noise, all of it disappeared until there was only this moment, only them, only breath. Aisha coughed water, gasping. Alive. Then survival instinct kicked in. She saw the woman who'd pushed her, Kim Seo, standing nearby in a designer maternity dress, one hand on her pregnant belly, smirking like she'd won some twisted game. Pure rage flooded through Aisha's veins. She stood on shaking legs, water streaming from her uniform, and walked straight to Kim Seo. The slap echoed across the deck like a gunshot. You tried to kill me. Aisha screamed in English, her voice raw. The crowd gasped. Kim Seo's eyes went wide with shock, then narrowed with fury. She lunged forward, manicured nails extended like claws, a guttural scream tearing from her throat. Min Chio stepped between them, his voice deadly calm. Touch her again, and you'll learn why my enemies disappear in the night. Kim Seo froze. She'd seen that look before. The transformation from businessman to mafia boss, from civilized to savage. She knew what he was capable of. What nobody on that yacht realized was that a guest had been live-streaming the entire party. 47,000 people watched Aisha fall. 89,000 watched Min Chio dive. 340,000 watched him give her the kiss of life. By morning, 12 million people would know their faces, and the story the internet created would trap them both in a lie that became the truth. 3 hours earlier, Aisha's reality had been very different. She'd stood in her cramped rooftop apartment in Itaewon, counting one notes under her mattress for the 3rd time, hoping the number would somehow change. It didn't. After sending money home to Lagos for her mother's chemotherapy medication, she had 47,001 left, about $35. Rent was due in 3 days. She had no idea how she'd pay it. Her phone buzzed with a message from her younger sister Rafat, 16 years old and desperate to attend university. The message contained a photo of another hospital bill, another rejection letter, another dream deferred. Mama's getting worse. The doctors say she needs the stronger medication. Can you send more? Aisha closed her eyes, fighting tears. She'd come to Seoul 6 months ago with hope burning in her chest and a scholarship acceptance letter for the Seoul International Modeling Program clutched in her hands. Her ex-boyfriend Jamal had been waiting at Incheon Airport with flowers and promises. Baby, I missed you. Let me hold your scholarship money for safekeeping while we get you settled. Trust was the most expensive mistake she'd ever made. Jamal had disappeared the next day with all her money, everyone she'd saved for years, every sacrifice her family had made. The scholarship required upfront payment for housing and materials. Without it, she couldn't enroll. Without enrollment, she couldn't get discovered. Her dream died before it even began. Now she worked 3 jobs just to survive. 5 a.m. to noon at a Gangnam cafe, serving coffee to people who looked through her like she was invisible. 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at a Myeongdong retail store, folding clothes for customers who treated her like furniture. 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. doing catering gigs for Seoul's elite, serving champagne at parties she'd never be invited to attend. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours in days. Her modeling portfolio, professional photos Jamal had promised to submit to agencies but never did, gathered dust under her bed, mocking her with what could have been. But tonight's catering job on the luxury yacht was supposed to pay well. She needed everyone. The Dragon's Breath yacht had been magnificent, a floating palace of marble and gold that cost more than her entire neighborhood in Lagos. The guest list read like a who's who of Korean entertainment and business elite. Aisha had walked up the boarding ramp in her crisp white uniform, eyes wide at wealth she couldn't fathom. Her supervisor had barked instructions in rapid Korean she barely understood. Don't talk unless spoken to. Don't make eye contact. Don't spill anything. These people can end your life with one phone call. She nodded and balanced her tray of champagne flutes, moving through the crowd with the grace that came naturally to her. People noticed. Men's eyes followed her movements. Women whispered. Kim Seo had noticed too. Kim Seo, 6 months pregnant and dripping in diamonds, watched this beautiful black woman glide through the party like she belonged there. Jealousy ignited in her chest, irrational, burning, consuming. She'd lost Lee Min-cheo 6 months ago when he ended their engagement, discovered her affair with his best friend Kong Jun. The pregnancy was supposed to bring him back. The public pressure, the traditional expectations, the baby, it should have worked. But here was this woman, this nobody, commanding attention Kim Seo had to fight for. So when Aisha passed close to the yacht's railing, Kim Seo made her move. She grabbed a champagne glass from Aisha's tray and deliberately spilled it on her own designer dress. You clumsy bitch. She screamed in Korean. Aisha didn't understand the words but recognized the tone. I'm sorry I didn't. Kim Seo shoved her hard. Aisha stumbled backward, her scream cutting through the music as she went over the railing and plunged into the black ocean below. Now, soaking wet on the yacht's deck with Min Cheo standing between her and Kim Seo like a human shield, Aisha realized her life had just changed forever. She didn't know how yet. Didn't know about the viral videos already spreading across social media. Didn't know about the headlines being written. Didn't know that the man who'd saved her was Seoul's most dangerous mafia boss, or that the woman who'd tried to kill her was carrying a secret that would destroy them all. All she knew was that she was alive when she should have been dead, and the man with the haunted eyes and gentle hands had given her back her breath. Min Cheo's friend Kong Jun appeared with blankets, wrapping one around Aisha's shaking shoulders. We need to get her checked by a doctor. She could have water in her lungs. I'm fine, Aisha managed, her voice hoarse. I just want to go home. You're not fine, Min Cheo said quietly. His voice was deep, accented, but his English was perfect. You nearly died. Let us take you to the hospital. I can't afford a hospital, Aisha said without thinking, then immediately regretted revealing her poverty. Min Cheo studied her face, seeing past the beauty to the exhaustion beneath, the desperation, the weight of survival. He recognized it because he'd lived it, orphaned at 10, raised in the streets, clawing his way up from nothing. This woman had that same fire in her eyes, that same refusal to break. Then let me pay for it, he said. I'm the one who pulled you out. Consider it my responsibility. I don't need your charity, Aisha said, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her pride was one of the few things she had left, and she'd be damned if she'd surrender it to a stranger, no matter how beautiful his eyes were or how gentle his hands had been. It's not charity, Min Cheo replied. It's basic human decency. Something that seems to be lacking on this yacht. He shot a pointed look at Kim Seo, who stood nearby with her arms crossed over her pregnant belly, fury radiating from every pore. The other party guests had formed a wide circle around them, phones still recording, whispers spreading like wildfire. Kim Seo stepped forward, her voice dripping with venom as she switched to English. Always the hero, aren't you, Min Cheo? Saving random women while abandoning the mother of your child. That's enough, Kong Jun said sharply, his hand moving to Kim Seo's elbow. We need to talk. Privately. Kim Seo jerked her arm away. Don't touch me. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. The tension between them crackled like electricity. Aisha noticed it, the way Kong Jun's jaw tightened, the way Kim Seo's eyes flashed with something beyond anger. There was history there, complicated and raw. Min Cheo's manager, Director Park, pushed through the crowd, his face flushed with panic and calculation in equal measure. We need to contain this situation immediately. The live stream has already hit 500,000 views. This is going to be everywhere by morning. What live stream? Aisha asked, her stomach dropping. Director Park showed her his phone. The video was already uploaded to multiple platforms. Her falling, Minchio diving, the rescue, the CPR, the slap. The comments section exploded with theories and speculation. Who is she? Lee Min-chio's secret girlfriend. He cheated on Kim Seo. That baby isn't his. This is the real love story. Aisha's hands trembled. No. No. I'm nobody. This is a mistake. You're not nobody anymore, Director Park said, his business mind already working. By morning, you'll be the most talked about woman in Korea. Min-chio took his manager aside, their voices low but urgent. Aisha caught fragments of their conversation. Opportunity, brand image, damage control, perfect timing. Her stomach churned. She'd just been used as a pawn in some game she didn't understand. The yacht docked back at Busan Harbor an hour later. Paramedics were waiting, despite Aisha's protests. They checked her vitals, declared her miraculously unharmed except for shock and minor bruising. Min-chio paid the bill before she could argue. Aisha's catering supervisor appeared, his face tight with anger. You're fired. Too much drama. Bad for our company's reputation. Clean out your uniform and leave. Just like that, she'd lost another job. Aisha felt the world tilting beneath her feet. 3 jobs down to 2. Rent due in 3 days. Her mother's medication running out. Rafat's university dreams slipping further away. Wait, Min-chio said to the supervisor. How much does she make working for you? The supervisor named a figure. Poverty wages for backbreaking work. Min-chio pulled out his wallet and handed the man triple the amount. Consider this her severance pay. And a reminder to hire security for your events so your employees don't get assaulted by guests. The supervisor took the money and disappeared without another word. Aisha stared at Min-chio, torn between gratitude and fury. Stop doing that. Stop paying for things. I don't know you. You don't know me. This doesn't mean anything. You're right, Min-chio said quietly. We don't know each other. But I know what it's like to have nothing. I know what it's like to be invisible in a city that doesn't care if you live or die. And I know that sometimes, one person's kindness is the difference between surviving and giving up. His words hit too close to home. Aisha felt tears burning behind her eyes, but refused to let them fall. Why do you care? Really? What's in this for you? Min-chio looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable in his dark eyes. I don't know yet. But when I saw you sinking, when I pulled you up and you opened your eyes, something changed. I can't explain it. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Before Aisha could respond, Director Park interrupted. Mr. Lee, we need to leave. No. There are reporters gathering at the harbor entrance. The drive back to Seoul was surreal. Aisha sat in the back of Min-chio's luxury car, still wrapped in the blanket, watching the city lights blur past the tinted windows. Min-chio sat beside her in silence, lost in his own thoughts. Kong Jun drove while Director Park made frantic phone calls, trying to control the narrative that was already spinning out of control. Aisha's phone buzzed constantly. Unknown numbers. DMs from strangers. Friend requests from people she'd never met. The video had gone viral in ways she couldn't comprehend. Her face was everywhere. One message made her blood run cold. It was from Jamal, her ex-boyfriend who'd stolen everything from her. Saw you on the news, baby. Look at you now. Dating a Korean Mafia boss. Who would have thought my little Aisha would become famous? We should talk. I'm in Seoul. I can help you navigate all this. For old time's sake. She deleted the message, her hands shaking with rage. They dropped her off at her rooftop apartment at 3 a.m. Min-chio insisted on walking her to her door, despite her protests. When he saw where she lived, the peeling paint, the broken heater, the mold creeping up the walls, his expression hardened. You live here? 3 jobs and you live here? Seoul is expensive when you're sending most of your money home, Aisha said defensively. Not all of us are born into luxury. I wasn't, Min-chio said. I was born into nothing. My parents died when I was 10. I grew up in the streets, stealing to survive. Everything I have now, I built from blood and darkness. So don't assume you know my story. Aisha felt the sting of shame. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. It's fine, he said. Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be complicated. He was right. By morning, Aisha's phone had died from the constant notifications. She charged it and immediately regretted it. 12 million views. Trending worldwide. News articles in Korean, English, Japanese, Chinese. Her face on entertainment websites, gossip blogs, social media everywhere. The headlines ranged from romantic to scandalous. Korean Mafia boss saves mystery woman in dramatic ocean rescue. Lee Min-cheo's secret girlfriend revealed. Kim Seo's rival. The beautiful black model taking Seoul by storm. Except she wasn't a model. She was a broke waitress living in a moldy apartment, desperate and alone. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Balyawataif? This is Director Park from DK Entertainment. We met last night. I represent Lee Min-cheo. I'd like to meet with you today regarding a business opportunity. I'll send a card to your address in 1 hour. How do you have my address? Aisha asked, alarmed. We have our resources. 1 hour. Please be ready. This could change your life. He hung up before she could refuse. Exactly 1 hour later, a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building. The driver opened the door for her, and Aisha climbed in, feeling like she'd stepped into someone else's life. DK Entertainment's headquarters was a sleek glass building in Gangnam. The receptionist expected her, leading her to a conference room on the top floor. Director Park waited inside with a team of lawyers and Min Cheo himself, looking uncomfortable in a tailored suit, his long hair tied back. Thank you for coming, Director Park said, gesturing to a chair. Let's get straight to business. The viral video has created a unique situation. The public is invested in your story, the romance, the rescue, the drama with Kim Seo. This kind of organic publicity is priceless. There is no romance, Aisha said. He saved me from drowning. That's it. The public doesn't care about facts, Director Park continued. They care about narrative. And the narrative they want is a love story. Korean Mafia boss falls for beautiful foreign woman. Chooses her over his pregnant ex-fiancé. It's perfect. Aisha's stomach turned. You want me to lie? We want to offer you an opportunity, Director Park said, sliding a contract across the table. 6 months. You pose as Lee Min-cheo's girlfriend. Public appearances. Photo shoots. Interviews. Social media content. In exchange, you receive full modeling training, portfolio development, connections to every major agency in Seoul, and financial compensation. Aisha looked at the number on the contract and felt the air leave her lungs. 500 million won. About 375,000 US dollars. That was more than her family would earn in 20 years in Lagos. Her mother's full cancer treatment. Rafat's university education. A real apartment. Food. Security. Everything. Why me? She whispered. Because the camera loves you, Director Park said. Because you're beautiful and exotic and exactly what this brand needs. Because Min Cheo's image is too dangerous, too untouchable. He needs softening. Humanizing. You're perfect for that. Aisha turned to Min Cheo, who'd been silent throughout. What do you think about this? He met her eyes. I think you deserve a chance at your dream. Your ex-boyfriend stole that from you. This is a way to take it back. By lying to millions of people? By playing a role, Min Cheo said. Isn't that what modeling is? Playing different versions of yourself for the camera? Director Park pushed forward. There's one complication we need to address. Kim Seo is claiming the baby is Min Cheo's. She'll be resistant to your presence. You'll need to navigate that carefully. Is the baby his? Aisha asked directly. The silence in the room was deafening. Min Cheo's expression was unreadable. That's complicated. Is that a yes or a no? Does it change your decision? Min Cheo asked. Aisha looked at the contract again. At the number. At the lifeline being offered. She thought about her mother coughing blood in Lagos. About Rafat's dreams dying. About herself, drowning in poverty and desperation. She thought about Jamal's betrayal. About being invisible in Seoul. About 3 jobs that barely kept her alive. She picked up the pen. What do I need to sign? The pen felt heavy in Aisha's hand as she signed her name on the dotted line, each stroke of ink binding her to a lie that would consume the next 6 months of her life. Director Park smiled like a shark who just caught prey, already pulling out his phone to schedule photo shoots and press releases. The lawyers gathered the contracts efficiently, and just like that, Aisha Balyawataif stopped being a struggling waitress and became Lee Min-cheo's fake girlfriend. We'll announce the relationship tomorrow, Director Park said, scrolling through his phone. Exclusive interview with Entertainment Weekly Korea. We'll control the narrative from the start. Aisha, you'll need media training immediately. Your career needs work. We'll get you a tutor. Also a stylist, makeup artist, personal trainer. Wait, Aisha interrupted, her head spinning. This is happening tomorrow? I haven't even processed what I just agreed to. The internet doesn't wait, Director Park said. Strike while the iron is hot. The video has 20 million views now. By tomorrow, it could be 50 million. We capitalize on the momentum. Min Chio stood abruptly. Give us a moment. Alone. Director Park looked like he wanted to protest, but something in Min Chio's voice made him gather his team and leave the conference room. The door clicked shut, leaving Aisha and Min Chio in heavy silence. You don't have to do this, Min Chio said quietly. If you want to back out, I'll make sure you still get enough money for your mother's treatment. No strings attached. Aisha studied him, searching for the catch. Why would you do that? Because I know what desperation looks like. I've lived it, and I won't trap someone in a lie just to save my brand image. He moved to the window, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline. When I was 10 years old and my parents died, I had nothing. No family, no money, no future. I survived by becoming whoever people needed me to be. A thief, a fighter, a businessman, a monster. I've played so many roles, I sometimes forget which one is real. His honesty cut through Aisha's defenses. What role are you playing right now? I don't know, he admitted, turning to face her. But when I pulled you out of that water, when you opened your eyes and looked at me, for the first time in years, I wasn't playing anything. I was just someone trying to save someone else. It felt real. Aisha felt something shift in her chest, dangerous and warm. This contract isn't real, though. It's a business arrangement. Then let's make a deal, Min Chio said. In public, we play the couple. Give the people what they want. But in private, we're honest with each other. No lies between us, even if we're lying to everyone else. Can you do that? Aisha considered his proposal. Honesty in the midst of deception. It was paradoxical, maybe impossible. But something about the way he looked at her, like she mattered, like she was more than just a contract, made her want to try. Deal, she said, extending her hand. He shook it, his grip warm and solid. Welcome to the performance, Aisha Balyawataif. The next 24 hours were a whirlwind. Aisha was moved from her rooftop apartment to a luxury hotel suite while stylists descended on her like a swarm. They analyzed her skin, her hair, her body, discussing her in Korean she couldn't fully understand but recognized as critical assessment. The words exotic, unique, and challenging floated past her consciousness. The media trainer was a severe woman named Ms. Young who spoke perfect English and tolerated no mistakes. You're dating Korea's most eligible bachelor and most dangerous man. The public will scrutinize everything. Your words, your clothes, your expressions. One mistake and they'll destroy you. No pressure then, Aisha muttered. This isn't a joke, Ms. Young snapped. Do you know how many women would kill for this opportunity? Don't waste it with American sarcasm. Aisha bit back her retort. She wasn't American. She was Nigerian, but correcting Ms. Young seemed pointless. The interview was scheduled for 6 p.m. at an upscale cafe in Gangnam. Aisha wore a dress the stylists had chosen. Elegant but understated. Expensive but not flashy. Her long straight black hair was styled in soft waves. The makeup artist had enhanced her features without hiding them. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Min Chio arrived at the hotel to escort her, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, his long hair loose around his shoulders. The tattoos on his neck were visible. A deliberate choice, Director Park had said. Show them the dangerous side. Make the contrast with Aisha more dramatic. In the car, Min Chio reached for her hand. Aisha flinched. Cameras, he said softly, nodding toward the paparazzi trailing them on motorcycles. We're performing now. Right. The performance. Aisha laced her fingers through his, the touch sending unexpected electricity up her arm. His hands were calloused, scarred. Hands that had built an empire from nothing. Hands that had pulled her from drowning. The interview was conducted by Korea's most popular entertainment journalist, a woman named Choi Mi-sun who smiled like a friend but asked questions like an interrogator. So tell us, how did you two really meet? Mi-sun asked, her recorder catching every word. Min Chio answered smoothly, his English flawless. I noticed Aisha at the party. She had this presence, graceful, elegant. I wanted to introduce myself, but then the accident happened. Some people say it wasn't an accident, Mi-sun pressed. That Kim Seo deliberately pushed her. I can't speak to Kim Seo's intentions, Aisha said carefully, using the lines Ms. Young had drilled into her. I'm just grateful Min Chio was there. And the CPR? Mi-sun leaned forward. That kiss looked quite passionate for a rescue. Aisha felt heat rise to her cheeks. Min Chio squeezed her hand gently. When you're trying to save someone's life, Passion is exactly what you need, he said. Determination. Desperation. The refusal to let them go. Yes, it was passionate. Because losing her would have been unacceptable. The way he said it, like he meant every word, made Aisha's breath catch. She had to remind herself this was acting. Just acting. Kim Seo is pregnant with your child, Mi-sun said bluntly. How does Aisha feel about that? The question hung in the air like a bomb. This was the part they'd rehearsed, but Aisha's throat went dry. The situation with Kim Seo is complicated, Min Chio said. But my relationship with Aisha is separate from that. She's not responsible for my past. But the baby is your future, Mi-sun countered. My future is mine to decide, Min Chio said, his voice hardening slightly. Next question. The interview continued for another hour, each question more invasive than the last. By the end, Aisha felt exhausted, wrung out. But when the article published that night, the response was overwhelming. The comments were mostly positive. They're so cute together. Finally, Min Chio found someone worthy. Aisha is gorgeous. Power couple goals. But there were darker comments too. She's just using him for money. Gold digger. He should be with a Korean woman. That baby deserves its father. Aisha tried not to read them, but they burrowed under her skin like splinters. That night, Min Chio took her to his penthouse in Gangnam. The building was exclusive, the kind where security recognized residents by sight. The elevator required a special key card. They rode to the 42nd floor in silence. The penthouse door opened to reveal a space that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. The apartment offered a breathtaking view of Seoul's glittering skyline. Sleek, minimalist furniture in black and white filled the space, and the artwork looked worth more than Aisha's entire neighborhood in Lagos. Your room is down that hall, Min Chio said, pointing. Second door. You have your own bathroom. Privacy. Whatever you need, there's a staff that can provide it. Aisha walked slowly through the space, feeling like an intruder. This doesn't feel real. It's not, Min Chio said. That's the point. This is all performance. Smoke and mirrors. And what about you? Aisha turned to face him. Which part is the real Lee Min Chio? Before he could answer, the penthouse door opened. Kim Seo walked in like she owned the place, wearing a designer maternity dress, her pregnant belly prominently displayed. She stopped when she saw Aisha, her expression morphing from surprise to fury. What is she doing here? Kim Seo demanded in English. She lives here now, Min Chio said calmly. You gave her a key? To our home? This hasn't been your home for 6 months, Kim Seo. Not since you, he stopped himself. Not since I what? Kim Seo challenged. Not since I got pregnant with your child. Not since I reminded you of your responsibilities. Aisha felt like she was watching a grenade with the pin pulled. I should go to my room. No, Kim Seo said sharply. You should hear this. You should know exactly what you're getting into with him. She turned to Min Chio. Tell her. Tell her why we really broke up. Tell her about Kong Joon. Min Chio's jaw tightened. Kim Seo don't. Why not? She deserves the truth, doesn't she? Or is your new relationship built on lies too? Kim Seo laughed bitterly. We were engaged. Planning our wedding. And then I made a mistake. One time. With his best friend. And he threw me away like I was nothing. The room crackled with tension. Aisha's mind raced, trying to process this information. You made a choice, Min Chio said quietly. Actions have consequences. And this baby? Kim Seo placed both hands on her stomach. Is this a consequence you can throw away too? That's enough, Min Chio said, his voice cold. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Kim Seo said. I have rights. I'm carrying your child. Are you? The question came from Aisha, surprising even herself. Both Min Chio and Kim Seo turned to stare at her. Earlier, you asked if the baby was his, Aisha continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. And he said it was complicated. Not yes. Not no. Complicated. So I'll ask you directly, Kim Seo. Is that baby Min Chio's? Kim Seo's face went pale, then red. How dare you? It's a simple question, Aisha pressed. Yes or no? The baby is mine, Kim Seo said. That's all that matters. That's not an answer, Aisha said. The silence that followed was deafening. Kim Seo's eyes filled with tears, but whether they were real or performed, Aisha couldn't tell. I'm not leaving, Kim Seo finally said. This penthouse has 5 bedrooms. I'm staying in one of them. The baby needs to be near its father. Min Chio looked exhausted. Kim Seo, this isn't. I'm staying, Kim Seo repeated firmly. And if you try to force me out, I'll go to the press. Tell them everything. About Kongjun. About the organization. About all your secrets. Don't test me. It was a threat, clear and simple. And from the look on Min Chio's face, it was effective. Fine, he said finally. But there are rules. No drama. No games. We're all adults here. Of course, Kim Seo said sweetly, but her eyes gleamed with triumph as she looked at Aisha. Welcome to the family. That night, Aisha lay in her assigned bedroom, staring at the ceiling. Down the hall, she could hear voices. Kim Seo's pleading tone, Min Chio's firm responses. The situation was more complicated than any contract could account for. Around 2 in the morning, Aisha gave up on sleep. She patted down the hall in the expensive silk pajamas the stylists had provided, heading toward the kitchen for water. But voices stopped her outside Min Chio's bedroom door, which stood slightly ajar. The baby needs to feel your presence. Kim Seo's voice drifted out, syrupy and manipulative. Don't you want to bond with your child? Kim Seo, go to your own room, Min Chio said, his exhaustion evident. I'm already here. In our bed. Where I belong. Aisha's stomach twisted. She should walk away. Go back to her room. Mind her own business. This was just a contract. Professional. Temporary. But her feet carried her forward until she stood in the doorway. Kim Seo lay in Min Chio's king-sized bed, one hand on her pregnant belly, the other patting the space beside her. Min Chio sat in a chair across the room, still fully dressed, his long hair falling forward to hide his expression. This is ridiculous, Aisha said, surprising herself with her boldness. Both of them looked up. Kim Seo's eyes narrowed. This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does, Aisha said, walking into the room. I live here now. I signed a contract. And I didn't agree to nightly drama that keeps me awake. She grabbed a pillow from the bed. Since no one is being reasonable, here's what's happening. We're all sleeping here. No touching. No talking. No manipulation. In the morning, we act like adults. Min Chio stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You can't be serious. Dead serious, Aisha said, climbing onto the opposite side of the bed from Kim Seo. I didn't survive drowning to lose sleep over petty games. Kim Seo looked outraged. You can't just. I just did, Aisha said, arranging pillows between herself and the middle of the bed like a barrier. Now everyone shut up and sleep. The absurdity of the situation hung in the air. 3 people, a king-sized bed, and enough tension to power Seoul's electrical grid. Finally, Min Chio stood, removed his shirt, revealing a muscled torso covered in tattoos that told stories Aisha couldn't read, and lay down in the middle, separated from both women by pillows. Nobody spoke. Nobody touched. But nobody slept either. Aisha stared at the ceiling, acutely aware of Min Chio's breathing beside her, the warmth radiating from his body despite the pillow barrier. On his other side, Kim Seo shifted constantly, her pregnant belly making comfort difficult. The clock on the nightstand ticked toward 3 a.m., then 4. Finally, Kim Seo's breathing evened out. She'd fallen asleep. Why did you do that? Min Chio whispered in the darkness. Do what? Aisha whispered back. Come in here. Offer to sleep here. You could have just gone back to your room. Aisha considered her answer carefully. Because I'm tired of people using pregnancy and tears to manipulate situations. My ex-boyfriend did that. Made me feel guilty for questioning him until I handed over everything. I won't watch it happen to someone else. Even someone you barely know. Someone who's paying you to pretend to love him? Especially then, Aisha said. Because in 6 months, this contract ends and I go back to my real life. But you'll still be here, dealing with this. And I guess I don't want you to drown either. Silence stretched between them, heavy with meaning. Thank you, Min Chio said finally. Don't thank me yet. I might regret this in the morning. But morning came with unexpected peace. All 3 of them had eventually fallen asleep, exhausted by tension and drama. Aisha woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. Min Chio was already up, dressed in workout clothes, his hair tied back. Kim Seo still slept, one hand protectively over her belly. The next 6 weeks fell into a strange rhythm. By day, Aisha's transformation continued. Personal trainers sculpted her already lean body. Runway coaches taught her to walk with power and grace. Photographers captured her from every angle, teaching her how to work with light and shadow. Korean language tutors drilled vocabulary and phrases until her accent softened. She was raw talent being refined into something extraordinary. The camera loved her, not just her beauty, but something deeper. The pain she'd survived, the strength she carried, the grace of someone who'd been beaten down but refused to break. Her first official photo shoot for Min Chio's fashion line was scheduled for week 6. The concept was power couple, her in an elegant black gown, him in a tailored suit, styled like Korean royalty. The photographer was a temperamental artist named Song who spoke in rapid-fire Korean and broken English. Chemistry. I need chemistry. Make me believe you're in love. Aisha and Min Chio stood together, professional and stiff. The photos were technically perfect, but emotionally empty. Stop. Song yelled in frustration. You look like strangers. Touch her. Hold her. Show me passion. Min Chio's hand moved to Aisha's waist, pulling her closer. She could feel the heat of his body through the thin fabric of her dress, smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her head swim. Better, but still nothing. Song complained. What's wrong with you? Are you in love or not? Remember when I pulled you out of the water? Min Chio whispered so only Aisha could hear. When you opened your eyes. Yeah. Aisha whispered back, her heart rate accelerating. I saw someone fighting to live. Someone who refused to give up even when the world was trying to drown them. That's who you are. That's who I see. His dark eyes held hers with an intensity that stole her breath. Show them that woman. The real Aisha Balyawatif. Something shifted inside her. The performance fell away. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw past the Mafia boss, past the dangerous reputation, past the carefully constructed image. She saw the orphan 10-year-old boy who'd watched his parents drown, the survivor who'd clawed his way up from nothing, the man who'd conquered his fear of water to save a stranger. The camera captured that moment. The exact second when pretending became something else. Song's excited shouting faded into background noise. Aisha was aware only of Min Chio's hands on her waist, his eyes locked on hers, the electricity crackling between them like a live wire. Yes. Yes. Perfect. Song screamed. That's it. That's the shot. When the shoot ended 2 hours later, they had the images that would define the campaign. Aisha looking at Min Chio like he was the only person in the world. Him looking at her like he'd dive into 1,000 oceans to save her again. It was supposed to be fake. Professional. Part of the contract. But the photos didn't lie. The images dropped on Instagram that evening. 2 million likes in 6 hours. The comments exploded with reactions. They're so in love, OMG Kim Seo could never, this is what real looks like, power couple goals for real, I'm crying they're perfect together. But negative comments surfaced too. She's just a gold digger, he belongs with a Korean woman, poor Kim Seo, and that baby, this relationship is fake, wake up people. Aisha tried not to read them, but they burrowed under her skin. She sat in her bedroom at the penthouse, scrolling obsessively, each hateful comment another small cut. A knock on her door made her look up. Min Chio entered without waiting for permission, carrying 2 glasses of wine. You're reading the comments, he said. It wasn't a question. How did you know? Because I made the same mistake earlier. He handed her a glass and sat on the edge of her bed. Rule number 1 of public life. Never read the comments. They'll either inflate your ego or destroy your soul, and neither is helpful. Aisha took a sip of wine, the expensive vintage smooth on her tongue. Do you ever wonder if they're right? The ones calling this fake? They are right, Min Chio said bluntly. It is fake. That's the contract we signed. Then why does it feel real sometimes? The wine had loosened her tongue, making her brave. Like in the photo shoot today. That moment when you looked at me. I was acting, Min Chio said, but his voice lacked conviction. Were you? Aisha challenged. Because it didn't feel like acting. The air between them grew heavy, charged. Min Chio set down his wine glass, his expression unreadable. What do you want me to say, Aisha? That I think about you constantly. That sleeping next to you every night with pillows between us is torture? That when I pulled you out of that water, something inside me recognized something inside you, and I haven't been the same since. Aisha's breath caught. Min Chio. But none of that matters, he continued, standing abruptly. Because in 6 months, you're leaving. You'll take your money, launch your modeling career, and this will be a strange chapter in your life story. A contract. A performance. Nothing more. What if I don't want it to be nothing more? The words escaped before Aisha could stop them. Min Chio looked at her with such raw emotion it hurt. Don't make this complicated. You deserve better than getting tangled in my world. The Mafia. The violence. The constant danger. You deserve Paris and Milan and New York. You deserve your dreams. And what do you deserve? Aisha asked softly. Before he could answer, Kim Seo's scream shattered the moment. They rushed to her room to find her on the floor, hands clutching her pregnant belly, face twisted in pain. Something's wrong, she gasped. The baby. Min Chio already had his phone out, calling for an ambulance. Aisha knelt beside Kim Seo, taking her hand despite their complicated history. "Breathe," Aisha said. "Just breathe. Help is coming." "I lied," Kim Seo said, tears streaming down her face. "About everything. The baby isn't his. It's Kong Jun's. We had an affair during the engagement. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." The confession hung in the air as sirens wailed in the distance. At the hospital, chaos erupted. Kim Seo was rushed into emergency care. Early labor at 8 months. Kong Jun arrived, his face pale with terror and guilt. Min Chio stood frozen, processing Kim Seo's confession. Aisha found herself in the waiting room, surrounded by a drama she'd only begun to understand. The contract had brought her here, but something else kept her from leaving. Kong Jun approached her, his eyes red. "She told you? About the baby?" "She told us," Aisha confirmed. "I'm the worst kind of traitor," Kong Jun said, his voice breaking. "Min Chio saved me. Took me in when I had nothing. Made me his brother. And I betrayed him with the woman he was supposed to marry." "Why?" Aisha asked. "Because I'm weak. Because Kim Seo was beautiful and available, and I was lonely in a marriage arranged for business." Kong Jun ran his hands through his hair. "My wife is the daughter of the Shin family, powerful, connected. Our marriage secures alliances, protects territory. If she finds out about this baby, everything collapses. Territory wars. Violence. People die." Understanding dawned on Aisha. "That's why Min Chio has been protecting your secret. Not because he still loves Kim Seo, but because exposing the truth means war. He's been carrying this burden to save me. Again." Kong Jun's tears fell freely now. "I don't deserve his loyalty." Hours later, Kim Seo delivered a healthy baby girl. Through the hospital room window, Aisha watched Kong Jun hold his daughter for the first time, watched Kim Seo reach for his hand, watched them become a family born from betrayal. Min Chio stood beside Aisha silent. "What happens now?" Aisha asked. "Now the truth is out. Kong Jun will have to choose his arranged marriage or his child. Either way, consequences are coming. And us?" The question slipped out before Aisha could stop it. Min Chio turned to face her, his expression raw and vulnerable. "There is no us, Aisha. There's a contract. A performance. 6 months that are already half over." "You're lying," Aisha said. "You're lying to me and yourself." "Maybe," Min Chio admitted. "But some lies protect us from truths we're not ready for." Before Aisha could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it and felt her blood run cold. It was a photo of her mother in Lagos, taken from outside her house. Recent. Today. The message read, "Beautiful family you have. Be a shame if something happened to them. We need to talk. Your friend Jamal." Aisha's hands shook. Min Chio took the phone, read the message, and his expression transformed from vulnerable to deadly in an instant. "Who is Jamal?" His voice was ice. "My ex-boyfriend. The one who stole my scholarship money." Aisha's voice trembled. "He's in Seoul. He approached me weeks ago, but I ignored him. Now he's threatening my family." Min Chio made a phone call, speaking rapid Korean. Within minutes, security was being arranged for Aisha's family in Lagos. But his face remained grim. "Jamal didn't find you by accident. Someone hired him. Someone who knows about us, about the contract, about everything." Min Chio's jaw tightened. "This isn't just about money. This is about destroying me. And they're using you to do it." Aisha felt the world tilting. She'd signed a contract thinking it was simple, 6 months of pretending, then freedom. But she'd walked into a war she didn't understand, and now her family was in danger because of it. "I need to end the contract," Aisha said. "If I disappear, they'll leave my family alone." "No," Min Chio said firmly. "Running won't save them. These people don't leave loose ends. The only way to protect your family is to finish this. To stand with me and fight back." "I'm not a fighter," Aisha whispered. Min Chio took her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Yes, you are. You survived Lagos. You survived betrayal. You survived drowning. You're the strongest person I've ever met. And I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Aisha searched his face, seeing the truth beneath the performance. Whatever had started as a contract had become something else, something real and terrifying and precious. "I trust you," she said. "Then we finish this together," Min Chio said. "No more lies between us. No more pretending. From this moment, everything we do is real." He kissed her then, Not for cameras, not for contracts, not for anyone but themselves. His lips were gentle but urgent, tasting of wine and desperation and promises neither of them could keep. Aisha kissed him back, pouring 6 weeks of confusion and longing and fear into the contact. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Aisha knew there was no going back. The contract had become a cage, but somehow, she'd found freedom inside it. "What do we do now?" she asked. Min Chio's expression hardened with determination. "Now we find out who's trying to destroy us. And we make them regret it." The hospital waiting room had become a war room. Kong Jun emerged from Kim Seo's room, his daughter sleeping in his arms, his face set with resolution. "I'm divorcing my wife," he announced. "I'm done living lies to protect business deals. This is my daughter. Kim Seo is the woman I love. I'm choosing them whatever the cost." Min Chio nodded. "Then we prepare for war. The Shin family won't take this betrayal lightly." "I know," Kong Jun said. "But you taught me that some things are worth fighting for. Family. Truth. Love." He looked at Aisha. "Protect her. Whatever's coming, protect her." "With my life," Min Chio said. As dawn broke over Seoul, Aisha stood between two men ready to go to war, holding the hand of the one who'd saved her from drowning, knowing that the real storm was just beginning. The contract had 3 months left, but Aisha suspected that deadlines meant nothing anymore. She'd come to Seoul to be a model. Instead, she'd become a queen in a game of kings. And she was done playing defense. "Let them come," she said quietly. "I'm not drowning this time." Min Chio squeezed her hand. "No. This time we make them drown." The war was coming. But for the first time since falling into that black ocean, Aisha Balyawataif wasn't afraid. Because she'd learned the most important lesson: the only way to survive drowning is to stop fighting the water and find someone worth breathing for. She'd found hers. And she wasn't letting go. If you've made it this far in Aisha and Min Chio's journey, hit that subscribe button because part 2 is coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The mother who supposedly drowned? She's alive. The enemy's coming for them? They're closer than anyone thinks. And Jamal's betrayal? That's just the beginning. Drop a comment telling me whose side you're on, Team Aisha or Team Kim Seo, and smash that like button if you're ready for the war that's about to explode across Seoul. Part 2 drops soon, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about this story.